Hey everybody, how are you? So I'm gonna wait because Facebook has me on a shadow ban, and there's gonna be a lot of you that aren't going to see this really fast because they've put me at the bottom of the list. So I'm gonna hang out and let people see that it's actually up, that I'm actually live, because Facebook has the rest of us at the bottom of the feed too. But my point for getting on here tonight is to talk to you guys about fentanyl, opiates. Hey Chad, how are you? I miss you. But I'm in this group, and it's about people overdosing on fentanyl. A lot of it is young kids. And I want to talk to you guys about it because I experienced opiate addiction and addiction to fentanyl. Hey Harold, how are you? And it's not what everybody thinks. It's not something to easily overcome. It's not something that you can just quit. And it's not something that a lot of people can quit and survive. And I think it's important. Hey Bob, how are you? I think it's important that people need to know and understand that there is an option out there besides Suboxone, besides going through rehab, besides all the withdrawals and the mess. I think everybody needs to know that, and I think they have a right to know it. I think they have a right to understand that marijuana can be an option for them, because it was an option for me. And I wasn't just taking oxycodone. I was taking oxys, I was taking morphine, I was taking Dilaudid, I was taking fentanyl, and I was taking it all at once. Doctors didn't really seem to give a shit about it. Hey Mark, how are you? And they just kept giving me more and more and more drugs, regardless of what it could have been doing to my system. And then they told me that I couldn't stop them. Well, I did. I stopped them on my own. I weaned myself off of all of those drugs, which I was taking 220 micrograms of fentanyl every other day. And I was taking OxyContin, and I was taking Dilaudid, and I was taking morphine. Hi, Carmelo. And you know, it's hard to come off of one of those drugs, let alone all of them. And so they wanted me to go to rehab. And I did go. I had my husband take me, but they told me that I couldn't see my family for almost 2 weeks, be without my animals for 2 weeks. And I couldn't do that. I wasn't going to be able to survive doing that. So I decided that I was going to come home and detox myself. That's exactly what I did. And then I went and I promptly got an ounce of weed, and I made sure that all of the withdrawal symptoms were going to be as comfortable as possible, because it was going to suck, and it was going to suck really bad. But I knew that if I didn't do that, that I was going to overdose one of those times, and I was going to die, and I wasn't going to come back. And I didn't want that to happen. So I went and I got my marijuana, and I started going to the gym, which helped my mind. It helped busy my mind. And, you know, I think if I didn't have marijuana to fall back on, to take the cravings away, to get rid of the pain, because I knew that I could make a phone call and go get some pills, and I could go find another doctor, and I could get right back on the meds again. But I didn't want to be on that roller coaster anymore. And so many of you understand that roller coaster, but you also understand that sickness really sucks. And then coming off of those pills, even though I hadn't taken them in a while, I was still on a roller coaster ride of emotions. Because the problem is, those pills mess with your dopamine and serotonin levels really bad. And it messes up all of the receptors. So then when your body doesn't get all of those rushes, you're going to go through a ride again. And to get rid of that, all you have to do is take a pill. And I knew that, but I also knew that I didn't want to go back again. And I didn't want to be sick again. So I just kept smoking pot. And, you know, it's something that saved my mental. It saved my spirit, because those opiates, that fentanyl, all of those drugs just ate my soul. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Chris. And I know a lot of you out there have been on opiates, and you know what they do to you. They make you feel hollow and empty. And it's a horrible feeling. It is absolutely horrible. And I don't want anybody to feel like that. I don't want them to, because I wouldn't want that to. I don't want to feel like that. And I think that there is such a massive stigma around marijuana and medical marijuana that it doesn't help or it doesn't work. But I talk to people every day for my podcast. I talk to them and they tell me the same thing, that they were on medications, they were on opiates, they were on SSRIs, and it makes them feel hollow and empty. Yet they're supposed to make you feel better. Then they go get their medical marijuana cards. They're consuming marijuana on a daily basis and they're actually feeling better. They're functioning because your body has an endocannabinoid system. It knows exactly what to do with the compounds. It doesn't know what to do with the compounds of an SSRI or an opiate. Yeah, it fills the receptors, but not in the same way. Your entire system is built to accept the cannabinoids and terpenes in the marijuana plant. It just helps. People want to believe that it's a bad thing, that it doesn't do any good for anybody, but that's not the truth. It's helping people every day. And like I said, for my podcast, I've been talking to people and they're saying the same thing, that they're getting the same results. So I know I'm not the only person. I know that it's not 5 or 6 of them. I know that it's thousands of people that are veterans, people that are, with serious depression or anxiety or, I don't know, just about anything that they're dealing with mentally. If they just go home and they eat an edible or they vape a little bit or they roll a joint or whatever they need to do, it makes it better. And I would rather someone be able to do that and not have a withdrawal from it than run for a pill, which could make you sick or make your dopamine levels off or your serotonin levels off, which is going to mess up other things. If you're depending upon a chemical, when that chemical is no longer available, you're going to go through withdrawal. It's going to be bad for your system. Why would you want to do that to yourself? It's not exactly a good thing to put your system through that. Now, am I saying all medication's bad? No, I'm not. Sometimes you absolutely need it. Sometimes. But I don't think that they should be pushing pills as much as they are on people all the time and adding higher and higher and higher dosages. And people are just so sick and toxic from all of the chemicals and pills that they take. And you can't tell me that they don't push pills. It's crazy. United States is the only place on the planet where you will see active commercials for medications. Even though they give you a long list of things that could happen, people are still running for those pills. They don't do that in other countries, but they do that here. It's crazy. Why? And then people will run and get these pills and they'll have a reaction to it and they'll go to their doctor and they'll say they're feeling some sort of way. Then they'll either change the dosage or they'll add something. That doesn't solve the problem. Well, why not worry about the person first? Okay, well, if they're depressed, maybe they need to be talking about what's going on in their life. Maybe there's something else going on. A lot of emotional pain will manifest as physical pain. So I don't think people realize that either, because nobody thinks they're traumatized when in reality we have all suffered trauma. All of us. It could be a death, or it could be a divorce, or even a marriage, a child born, a child passing. It could be a multitude of things, bullies and parents fighting and whatever. It's all trauma, every bit of it. And every single one of us have experienced it. We carry that into adulthood if we don't fix it. Yeah. They all do. And look, I'm not saying that they shouldn't be used in some certain instances, but I don't think trading one chemical for another chemical is helpful. You're still going to withdraw from it. They still have to taper it out of your system. You never have to taper marijuana. You never have to worry about a withdrawal. I just don't see how trying to get somebody off of a pharmaceutical with another pharmaceutical is helpful. Big Pharma isn't there to make you healthy. They're there to make you a customer. They don't want to make you better because there is no money in that. I don't care about Big Pharma. I really don't care if they make any money. It doesn't matter to me. My concern is the fact that people are dying every day from things that they shouldn't be dying from. People shouldn't have to try to escape their reality because it's shit. And a lot of it is because society is broken and they keep breaking each other. And that's why addiction is such a problem, because trauma is a problem. We wouldn't have the problems with fentanyl and with opiates and with overdosing the way that we do if people weren't constantly searching for an opiate or constantly searching for a Xanax, because then they wouldn't be finding those pills on the street that are straight fentanyl. And that's a massive problem, because a lot of pills right now that are on the streets, yeah, cold turkey, a lot of people can do that, but it's not something that everybody should do, because going through withdrawal can be very dangerous. So I wouldn't suggest you go completely cold turkey without having something to be able to deal with the anxiety and the roller coaster ride, as I put it. That's why I always suggest marijuana, because it's something that's going to fix the nausea, the cramping, the emotions. It's going to help with all of that. I know. Unfortunately, right? In a perfect world, I would say that I wouldn't want anybody to have to deal with that, because it's not a good place to be. Being addicted to those drugs is absolutely horrible. You're a slave to it, and it's just a horrible feeling. I was on that roller coaster for 15 years, and I don't ever want to do it ever again. And like I said, I'm in this group where most of these people that are in this group, they have lost a child or a family member from overdose of fentanyl, whether it's poisoning or, overdose. And it just breaks my heart, because it's not something that has to happen. It just doesn't. And the only way to get rid of it is to have Big Pharma get rid of it, stop producing it. And the government needs to get rid of it too, because they're a big problem when it comes to fentanyl. They've got to cut it off. I don't know the total answer, because it is coming from other places besides Big Pharma. They have to do a better job at search and seizure, I suppose. But the problem isn't going to be, or the solution isn't going to be stopping the drug. The solution is going to be stop breaking the people so they don't have to search for the drug in the first place. I think that the drug will always be, but I think Big Pharma can stop pushing it as much as they are on patients. I think they need to be held liable. But I think the only way to prevent anybody from ever searching for an opiate or for a medication like fentanyl ever again is to basically prevent the need for it. And mental health is huge when it comes to that. People are using it for an escape because their reality is just unbearable. And that just breaks my heart too. Because for the simple fact being, I was one of those people. And society isn't gentle with anybody anymore. They're just not. And it's sad to see, because there is so many people out there suffering, and it was because of something that they probably had nothing or any control over, I should say. If they come from an abusive home, they're traumatized. And so they're trying to escape those feelings because they're stuck in the past. And 90% of the time, that is the issue. Not everybody's trauma is the same. And just because you don't think that that person is traumatized, it doesn't mean that they're not. A person could be falling apart next to you and you have no idea because they're smiling. Doesn't mean that they're not falling apart. That's why I always say be kind. Be kind to everybody, because you just have no idea what they're going through. You just don't know. And unfortunately, the world has become very hard to that. And that's why they choose to escape. So as a society, we have to change. We have to change our consciousness. We have to change the way we behave towards each other. Start building each other up instead of tearing each other down, because we've been doing that long enough and we've gotten nowhere. So why not try building each other up? Why not try helping somebody and reaching out, being the bigger person, I guess you could say, in most instances. Because that's the only way that you're going to be able to stop the desire for the pill. If there wasn't a desire, it wouldn't exist. Right? So if people are in pain, or they're having, a surgical procedure and they have pain after, why not push a plant instead of a pill? Because then if they don't ever have the pill in the beginning, then you wouldn't have to worry about the addiction, would you? And if society would stop breaking each other and heal their own traumas and stop passing that from generation to generation, they wouldn't seek the need to escape from a reality that is so detrimental to the human psyche in the first place. Hi, Gerald. Hi, Chris. So there's a lot of things that have to change, and it's not just one, but it has to be a societal decision. It has to be everybody that decides that they're going to be better. Literally, that's what it's got to be. How are you, Jason? There's no way that you can get rid of opiates completely. I think you should hold Big Pharma accountable for most of it, definitely. But the problem now is with the fentanyl, people are still seeking out those opiates, and they're dying because the pills are complete fentanyl. They're not even the opiate pill anymore. So if people weren't searching for those opiates, then they wouldn't have to worry about getting fentanyl, right? So how do you prevent that? Well, you fix the mental health issue that we have in this country. That's how you fix it. It's the only way to fix it. So there needs to be better mental health. There needs to be more access to things like medical marijuana, or even legalization of marijuana. Hi, Greg. And that will solve a lot of the problems, because there are more people getting better results with medical marijuana than they are with any kind of SSRI or any other kind of drug that Big Pharma is pushing. I don't know. I'm pretty positive on that. I took many of their drugs and it didn't do me a damn bit of good, but I've been smoking and consuming and, using lotions for 6 years now, as long as Pennsylvania's been legal, and I have never been happier. My quality of life has never been better. It wasn't that great on a pharmaceutical pill, so I don't understand why people would want to feel better without the worry of any kind of a side effect or any kind of possibility that you could die. Marijuana can't kill you. The worst that could happen is you would probably eat a cake, maybe take a nap, maybe be creative. It's really not that bad. And again, I don't think people are looking for a complete answer. They want a quick fix. Marijuana isn't a quick fix. It's not. It just helps you process. It helps you calm the waters, so to speak. You ever hear the saying, you can't see through boiling water? Well, when your mind is so active with all kinds of turmoil, you can't see the answers through it. You have to calm it. Marijuana helps you do that. And I don't think people see that or understand that, because there has been so much negative propaganda for so long. And it's absolutely absurd, and it's got to stop. It's got to stop. I don't want to see anybody else die or lose a family member or suffer anymore from opiate withdrawal or fentanyl withdrawal or even poisoning from fentanyl, because people are dying every 11 seconds, I believe it is now. every 11 seconds. Can you believe that? Like, that is astronomical. Why is this not like being 100%, all hands on deck kind of thing? Like, every 11 seconds somebody dies from fentanyl. That's mind-blowing to me. And nobody seems to care, but I do. I care. I care because I was there. And I care because I don't want anybody to feel that kind of way ever again. Because it's not right. It's just not. So that's why I'm kind. That's why I do what I do to be as kind as I can to everybody. And if you've ever interacted with me in any way, shape, or form, you know that to be true. I'm just kind to everybody because I want you to be in a better shape when you walk away than when you were talking to me, because that's important. You just don't know what kind of battle people are fighting. And I want people to know and understand that medical marijuana is an amazing choice. It will absolutely help you. It helps with withdrawal. It helps with pain. It helps with depression. It helps with anxiety. There is a strain for everything. It doesn't even matter what it is. Just try it. Just consider that before you run to Big Pharma, because they're not there to help you. They're not there to cure you. Their interest is not in making you better in any way. Their interest is to keep you a customer, because that's the only way they're going to make money. I don't care. I don't want your money. I'm just telling you what I did to climb out of the hole that I climbed out of. And I'm letting you know what I did to fix my mind. And I was on opiates 15 years. It wasn't a year or 2 or 3. It was mass doses for a very long time. And it messed up my head for a very long time. And it is taking me what seems to be an absolute lifetime to recover from it. It's been 10 years, almost 11 now, that I have not touched a pill. Not one pill. Not an opiate, not a Tylenol, not a cold medicine, nothing. I won't touch another pill because I'm not going to give them any more money to put any more poison and toxicity in my body. Just not doing it. Justin, how are you? Hi, Don. How are you? Hi, Susan. And I don't think anybody else should be either, because their interest isn't to keep you safe. I have no interest in anything except the happiness of other people, because I want everybody to be able to enjoy life and be able to function and be able to, prosper. And you can't do that if you're sick all the time. And you can't do that if you're poisoning yourself with a toxic poison from a pharmaceutical company. I just can't understand how they have a consciousness, or they don't have a consciousness, I should say. They didn't care when I was overdosing. Didn't give a shit. And the doctor prescribed me more the very next month. He didn't care. It's maddening. My doctor is actually sitting in a federal prison right now for overprescribing 3 people, and they died. Yeah. Go figure. He overprescribed me for years. They didn't care. Nobody stopped him. How do you do that? Like, how do you go to sleep at night? I couldn't do that. But even though I had real pain, which I did, a lot of my emotional pain was manifesting as physical pain. I had to deal with my mental. I didn't realize that until I got older. Most people don't realize that until they get a little older. So I'm trying to share that information with you, so maybe you'll take that into consideration before you go and, get on an SSRI or something like that, or take a pill. Check your mental. And I know, it can be it can sound really crude to say that, but it's the truth. Mental health is very, very important, and we have neglected that for years and years. You have not ever heard of anybody, in the past 10 years to, just check on your mental health, because nobody ever really cared about that. But it's been in the forefront, and I think that's more important now than ever. And we should be caring more about each other. Worrying more about putting more back into our communities instead of these big companies that have no interest in you. You know, start taking care of the people that are taking care of you, because Big Pharma doesn't care about you. Amazon doesn't care about you. You know, these big companies, they don't give a shit. They just don't. You know, and that's become reality, unfortunately. Big Pharma has no interest in curing you, because if they did, how would they make any money? Prisons don't have any interest in keeping you out, because if they did, how would they make money? And it's absolutely absurd. It's all just a big money-making scheme at the expense of every human being, it seems. And I'm the glitch. I'm letting you know that it's not right, that, you know, they're all out to, you know, just profit off of you and not really give a shit about what it's doing to your mental, your physical. How many times have you guys actually gotten to go on a vacation because, you know, you wanted to? Not many people in America go on vacation. I just realized that recently. Like, it's horrible because you don't have time to take off, or you're sick all the time. But have you ever really looked at how many chemicals you're taking every single day? Have you ever just stopped to check and see, from the start of your day until the end of your day, how many chemicals are you ingesting every single day? Probably more than you realize. And all of that stuff, it lowers your immunity. And lowering your immunity, you're going to get sick. And then with the government keeping you depressed and fearful and everything else, that drops your immunity too. It's no good. It's just no good. And when you get older, you learn that all of those toxins and things build up in your system, and it just does a lot of damage to your mental. And it does. It really does. And it holds you back. So it's all got to be processed, all that trauma. But again, the whole point of this talk was to tell you that, you know, if you have somebody that's suffering with fentanyl, that they're addicted to fentanyl or addicted to opiates or something like that, talk to them. Just talk to them. Ask them how they're doing. You know, see if there's anything that you can do to assist them, and talk to them about their trauma if they trust you in some manner, because that's the only way you can fix it. It's the only way. When we have a pain inside, when it's an emotional pain of some way, you have to speak. You have to talk about it, because it's the only way to get the emotion out. And if they don't talk about it and process it, they'll never be able to lose the dependence on that drug. Never. It's just a fact. I wasn't going to be able to stop taking those drugs until I could emotionally process what I had to from my childhood. Many of you, I've told, it's on my podcast about the abuse that I suffered as a child. I was never going to stop taking those drugs until I dealt with that. And I knew that. I knew it. So every day, it's not something that can happen overnight. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes days. It takes years. It takes forever. What seems like forever. But that's what you have to do. You have to process those emotions. There's no way that you can ever fix the addiction, because the addiction isn't the problem. The addiction is the symptom of the disease in the body. And the disease is the trauma. It's emotional pain for the most part. People that have, you know, I'm not saying that every single person, but a lot of people get into that addiction because of taking pain medication for a surgery or for, you know, a procedure that they had done. But at that point, they should be giving them medical marijuana and not an opiate first. That should be offered. And then if you go through that and you go through a few cycles of different, you know, avenues of medical marijuana, and you need an opiate at that point, fine. Then you deal with it. But you give them the option first, because that will save their life of possibly not being addicted to opiates for the rest of their life. Hello? That would help. That would really help. And then everybody else is able to access it for mental therapy, to be able to deal with the emotions and process them, you know, a little bit better. It just helps. And I think people just, I don't know, they just really need to know. And they really need to know that, people are struggling, and to be kind, because you just don't know. But yeah, so I wanted you guys to know that is from my view, from being addicted, and it was prescribed addiction. It's not like I just went out and searched out these drugs. I started out being addicted to these drugs when I was 20 years old after I had brain surgery done. They gave me OxyContin, and they only gave me like 10 milligrams. But from that point on, I took opiates every single day until I was up to taking 500 pills and 60 patches a month. Like 15 years of taking pills. But the point being is, when I came off of all those pills, I didn't have any pain. I shouldn't say that. I did, but I started to process the emotions that I had, and the rest of the pain started to go away. And with the marijuana, that took care of the pain that I actually had from the surgeries that I had prior to. It was just the fact of the matter that I had a lot of emotional things that I needed to process. And until I was able to do that, there was no way that pain was going to go away. It just wasn't. And I was going to keep searching out those drugs to keep numbing myself so I didn't have to feel the emotional pain. So if you know someone that's dealing with it, talk to them. If you know somebody, that is dealing with it because of a procedure, maybe offer them some medical marijuana. Talk them into doing that to try and see if maybe that will help them too. Because I can tell you that with brain surgery and compression fractures in my spine, medical marijuana takes care of all of that. I don't have any pain. And you can listen to my podcast. You can hear other people that have had other problems with pain and PTSD and CPTSD and addiction and everything else. And medical marijuana is helping them too. It just does. It's not just my story. It's everybody's story. So if you have a story and you want to be on my podcast, let me know, because I'm looking for new stories too. But that's about it. That's all I really wanted to say. I'm doing this podcast because I believe that everybody who has a story and wants to share it, they can. And I want to give them that outlet to be able to do that. Because, everybody's got a vision for their future and what they want to do. And I've been asked that multiple times. But my ultimate goal is to have a facility. I want a facility, and I want it out in Arizona or Nevada, in one of those areas. And I want to build it so that it's holistic. It's going to be for anybody and everybody who wants to work on themselves. Because I believe between therapy, medical marijuana, some of the best doctors and therapists out there can help people recover. I don't want people to go through a program and not have an option. They need those options. I think that there's a lot of healing things in psychedelics that they haven't even begun to touch yet. And I believe that should be accessed for people too. Hey, how are you? So that's what I'm working towards. I'm working towards building a facility, and I want it to be out in the Southwest. And at that point, I want it to be all about the spirit, mind, body, and spirit, because that's the only way to heal a trauma, is by dealing with mind, body, and spirit all at the same time. So that's where it's going. So support the podcast and help me out so that I can get there, because I can't build it alone. I need a lot of people to help me do this. And I feel that there's not a person on this planet that it can't help. So it wouldn't be just me, it would be everybody. So we'll see where it gets, right? Well, thanks guys for listening. I hope you learned something. I hope it helped you. I hope you think about what I told you guys. I hope you think about what I've had to say. And I hope that if you know somebody struggling, that you reach out and help them, because you can. All you got to do is listen. They need to be able to release that pain inside, to be able to heal the pain, so that they don't feel the need to have to search out the pill in the first place. It's the only way to heal it. And it's the only way to stop the fentanyl epidemic, because people won't have to search for the opiates. So we all have to do it together, right? So thanks for listening. Thanks for being a glitch just like I am. Listen to the podcast, and I'll I'll get on here and talk to you guys again soon. Thanks.